one of the challenges we have is trying to reach people throughout the chapter territory because we've got a pretty big region, but we're still, because we're more rural than a lot of other chapters, it's very spread out. So it's a large chapter territory, but not a huge like, we don't have the numbers that other people with that same geographic territory would have. So most of our programs we're doing in the Oneonta area or Cooperstown or kind of centrally, other than bird walks where we do go out to some places. But for the most part, any of our activities are typically central in that region. And one of the things I really do want to do is kind of expand the opportunities for people to engage with the organization by doing some things in some of those farther reaching communities. And I think mindful birding is a really good way to do that. But the challenge is we need to find help to kind of do those activities in their area. So that I believe is what you're interested in doing is, basically providing the program, registering some participants, going out as a group, and kind of leading that individual little group on that activity, and then do it a couple of times per year, or if you wanted to do it once a month, like the scheduling would be up to each person who's doing those programs. And then Delaware Otsego Audubon Society would then help to publicize those programs out, and we'd include it in our chapter newsletter, and it's in our events calendar, and people can register. You'll get a notification of who's registered so that you're ready to go. You know how many people you have. If it's a rain date and you need to cancel because the weather's horrible, you have the list of emails that you can send to let people know about that. Or if there's something in particular you want them to bring, or if you wanted to do it over a lunch period and they're bringing lunch, you can make those decisions for your own group. So I suppose that's my intro. And we're almost at about 5 after, and I don't want to hold you up, so I am recording. So basically, I think let's just let's just move forward. I'm gonna stop my camera, and then let's see if that worked. There we go. So now I have access to my full screen. And I'll just share like a couple of pieces that I have put together that just will help overview mindful birding in general and kind of what we're looking at for that. So, okay, can you see that okay? The birdability screen? Okay. Great.
Yes.
Okay, so we looked at this first coming from the perspective of birdability. We have the sanctuary at Franklin Mountain. I don't know if you're familiar with that, where we do hawk watch programs, and when we have staff, we'll do camp programs there for children. But one of the things we really focused on over the last 2 or 3 years is accessibility for our site and trying to think of ways to make it a little bit more accessible. We did do a trail from a parking area that's right off the street that has like an accessible incline graveled path that goes up to an area that overlooks the wetland up at the sanctuary site. And still in progress is building of an accessible platform, like a viewing platform, where people can go up on a platform and rest and watch birds on the wetland that's right there. So we had plans to have it completed by the fall, but something happened and it fell through. So hopefully this spring, that group is going to have that kind of in process so that it's there in the summer and beyond. And my thought was, like, if we're going to have that infrastructure available, it would be really great to have programming that goes along with it. So we're looking at Birdability as a way to invite people who might not be able to hike all the trails or go up the hills, so that they can enjoy the property, learn about birds, and mindful birding is a really good fit with this. So, so this is where we started, and then we also ended up getting some resources through the Audubon network that basically talked about like mindful birding and the health benefits of mindful birding, and basically, you know, building this as part of programming that fits into that accessibility piece, but is also a little bit different. And Sarah can talk a little bit about kind of how mindful birding is different from birding, kind of traditional birding in general. Do you want to like just give a quick overview for people, Sarah, from your
Sure.
perspective? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mindfulness, as you probably know, involves being very present in your senses, and still in the mind, quiet in the mind. And mindfulness in birding came about because people realized that there's great health and emotional benefits to being mindful out in nature, slowing down, just opening the senses, not trying to identify birds or do biology about birds, but more so to just enjoy the sounds, enjoy the sights, enjoy the behavior, sit with it, be quiet with it, not walk real far, probably, maybe share a little bit as a group about how different birds or sightings in nature made you feel. So it's much more of a sensory and feeling kind of an experience that has been shown to increase health benefits. I was fascinated in one of the books that I read, might have been Nature's Fix, that just 8 minutes of bird being with birds, birdsong, can bring 8 hours of peacefulness into us. So that's my thumbnail sketch of mindful birding.
I love that. Thank you, Sarah. Um, there are resources available. The Mindful Birding Network, they have a internal only access to some resources. They have shared that password with me so that I can share that out with others who might be working with us on this. So basically, there are this link, Mindful Birding Network, and the project that kind of helps to give some background and some additional resources for people who might be kind of moving into these types of programs. And they do have a book list, and the Nature Fix, I believe, is on here as well. And if it's not, I do have a separate link for that. But ornithotherapy with Holly Merker and Richard Crossley are kind of two of the people kind of at the forefront of the mindful birding movement, kind of on a national level. And they do a podcast on mindful birding that I still haven't listened to, but I mean to. I keep forgetting to put it on my list for podcasts. But some other pieces, these resources are all available for you to kind of take a look at to see if there's one that might call to you that might help. And then the nature's fix is one that the nature fix is one that has been recommended kind of through many different groups that have been talking about mindful birding, and this is something that also like I think it's $15 or something like that for the paperback version of it, and I would be happy to sponsor that fee if it's something that you wanted to get, or like a small resource. I think for people, if you wanted to like pick one that you really wanted to find, I'll pull that from our education budget and provide that for you, because I think it's definitely worth it just to have that extra exposure to it. There's also the Bird Diva, and Bridget Butler. She's a lady. I think she lives like either up in the Adirondacks or in Vermont or New Hampshire, not terribly far. We met her at one of our Audubon Council meetings a couple years back, and she did slow birding with us, which slow birding and mindful birding, I see them both kind of in the same vent. It's experiential. It's basically picking a spot to watch birds where you can relax and kind of take everything in about your surroundings, and just a really nice it's a nice piece. I'm going to connect with her if we do move forward to see if I can do a group rate for this. Basically, I think it's a course, but I don't know how many pieces it is. I don't think it's okay. It's 4 weeks, so it's a 4 session program. But she might be able to give me like a group rate if I'm bringing in a number of people to watch it like through Delaware Otsego Audubon. So that's something that is possible as far as training goes, and kind of some information that can help someone who's leading programs out in the field with other people. And that I will check. She also does outings and things like that, but they're typically out of area. She also has one with kids. This is just the intro page to that detail that we just had on the screen. The Nature Fix, I went to bookshop.org and found it there. It's $16 if that's a resource that you decide you might like to have. Just basically, we can do it where you can order it and then just send the receipt to me and I'll get a reimbursement out to you. Or I can do it, pay by credit card and just have it shipped to you. So any of those books, like if you want to pick one that really calls to you, I think that's certainly fair and doable. And then kind of back to the birdability and looking with differently abled groups, there's accessbirding.com is a group, and they do a certified course. And I think this is a course we will probably hold for a person who wants to be a coordinator for all the groups. So basically to do the training with all the program leaders in all those different communities, will sponsor attendance through a course like this, just to put that person in a place where they're really comfortable with the material and excited about it. So that's pretty much the overview that I have. What I guess I'd like to know is from you, do you have questions? And is it something that you think you would be interested in doing in your area and things like that? So I'll turn it over to you. You can share a little bit maybe about like what calls to you about this kind of program. I think you had mentioned a little bit in your original note to us about that. And then if this helps kind of give you the information that you need, to make a decision if it's something that feels like a good fit.
Yeah, I'd definitely still be interested. It sounds like it's going to be pretty open to whatever my schedule is, which with my job it can kind of be it's a little weird. Sometimes it's not necessarily always weekends, but yeah, it still sounds good if this ends up happening. It sounds like you were a little concerned about getting enough volunteers, but I'm still interested. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I personally, I'd be good with starting, like, if you're a person who's interested in doing it, even if we don't have other people who want to start with it, I'm fine with starting it with one and seeing how it goes for you, and then taking that as the model and having you like talk to people about how it works for you. Do you know what I mean? In a Zoom meeting, or if we do have groups, then we can do like multiple people. But I would be happy to test it and see if we could, like, at least it's programs, like at least we'd be doing it on your schedule in your area. You could certainly, you could pick locations. Like if you wanted to go to different places, you could definitely do that. Maybe something at the sanctuary at some point in the future. But yeah, I definitely would be happy to have something get off the ground, because I think that's the biggest challenge right now. And I don't think there's a really good awareness about what it is. Like people are familiar with a bird walk, and that's very typical, but people aren't necessarily familiar with mindful birding. And there's a huge expansion of interest in birding, I think, at this point in time. And this could be a way to really help engage like a more diverse demographic. Like so that there's younger people and there's older people and there's people with kids and people without kids, like that's an important piece of it too. So I think I definitely would be happy with that. Sarah, you want to add something there?
Yeah, just Michaela, I just wanted to ask you if you have a background in meditation or mindfulness or being slow in nature yourself, anything in that realm.
Not specifically with mindfulness or the mindful birding. I've heard of it before. I listened to a podcast episode about it a couple years ago and I was intrigued, and I saw it on the Audubon website and I was interested. Um I have worked with monitoring the piping plovers before, which is it's a lot of a lot of sitting still and being patient and yeah, but on my off time, I consider myself more of a casual birder, and yeah, I like that this is kind of like you were saying about accessibility and yeah, getting more people interested in birds, and like it's not as I don't know, as intense as like, you have to know exactly what this warbler is.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And
The other thing that I wanted to remind us all about was at some point, Sue, you've been mentioning getting trained by the birdability folks in the accessibility points of running a program. And I don't know if you would still be asking people to engage in that. I think it's like a 9-week course.
yeah, I
So
think I
maybe,
want to hold that for a coordinator that's
got it.
coordinating with multiple groups, just so that we can invest in that and basically have that as something that that person can share out with program leaders, like learn from that and then do a training for mindful birding program leaders in your community and kind of do it that way. So, but it's definitely on my radar, and definitely I think we can take some guidance from some of the birdability resources and how they structure, how they structure a program, um, how they uh, how they promote their program, like the wording that you use in a program description, which we've started to do a lot of that over the last 2 years. Letting people know that where are bathrooms, where do people park, is there a handicap parking space available? Like we have handicap parking and we have handicap accessible portage on the site now that's maintained regularly from spring through fall. And I think they might also monitor it in the wintertime, but I'm not quite sure how. Because sometimes with the snow, if they can't get into the space that they need, it might be more difficult. But those are available at the site, describing the trails, like there's no more than, like there's minimal walking, bring a camp chair or something like that, where, you pick a spot and you're pretty much there, and then we might get up and do some sharing activities together, bring your chair back into a circle and then talk a little bit about it and things like that. So it's more in the description, I think, protocols of how you describe the terrain, like if it's rocky terrain or if it's, there is a gravel path that's, easy walking for everybody. Like those are things you can use to kind of make it more accessible, because I think one of the biggest challenges for people with accessibility issues is not knowing what it's going to be like for them. So if we can allay some of that through the information we provide, I think that's a huge benefit. So, any questions that you might have?
Um, I don't think I have many right now. I always end up thinking of things later. Um,
Okay.
I guess just if I did end up doing this, what would my responsibilities be in terms of like keeping people safe, I guess. I know we're not doing like any intense trails, probably, or but
I
still, like if
can,
I'm leading
yep,
something.
I can go over some general safety things for outdoor programs,
Okay.
because we do environmental education programs. I have that as part of our training for people who might be working on the camp program, let's say, because safety is, a number one consideration. Certainly, just preventing accidents, like being aware. Basically, it's an outdoor program, so there's different risks in an outdoor program than if you were in a classroom or in an indoor environment. So, basically just making people aware, there's might be tripping hazards, there might be bugs, there are snakes, but we don't really have poisonous snakes in our region. Down where you are, I'm not sure if you're in any of the rattlesnake territories. Like, I know Otsego County is pretty minimal on any kind of venomous snakes, but you might have, is it the timber rattlesnake that's in the Catskills area?
Copperhead, maybe.
Or copperhead, that's the one I was thinking of.
Mm.
So just making people aware, like if you're parking yourself near, rocky outcrops, to just be aware and be careful. Trying to think of what else, like just general safety guidelines, and that can be part of your introduction when you meet a group, like at the very start. You could say, let's just go over some safety protocols. We have a first aid kit. We can provide you with a first aid kit. That's not a problem, and probably good to have just in case you need it. Sarah,
If
you were
I,
going to add
yeah, if I
something?
can add one other thing, when we work with people who have extra needs around accessibility, there are a few very simple questions to ask each individual as they join the group. So it's not like you gather the group and you give an introduction, but rather you meet each person. And the question that jumped out at me that I would be asking each person was, what do you need today to stay comfortable? How can I help you?
Yep.
And then in the privacy of that one-on-one, they can say, I have a little trouble walking, but I'm embarrassed about it. So I kind of need this kind of ground or whatever it might be. And that's a really, really important way to keep each individual safe. And there are other pieces from the accessibility angle, but that's the main one.
That's a nice way to put it. Also, because you will have the email address for anybody that signs up, you can always develop a message to go out to each of them just to say, thank you for signing up. If there's anything specific that you need for, while you're at a program, if you could share that in advance, that gives you a heads up. And I would say the only other thing as far as like procedurally or how it would work is you would let us know date, time, location, general description. So we get that general information from you. We can have like your picture and a bio on a mindful birding page on the website so that, as we add to that, we can kind of grow it with some profiles so people know who they're meeting when they get to a program. You would receive the email, you can confirm them, set up a template email just to say thank you for joining. Here's where we'll go to meet. If you want to help with like putting that together, excuse me. If you need help putting that together, or you want to include like a map or directions link, to where the location is, where you'll be meeting, what they need to bring. And I can work with you on that. We can probably put that right in, parts of it right in the confirmation email that goes to them. We could work on that together. And then doing the program, we're hoping to have a new check-in process so that we can know like who's attending. Like if it's something where we're saying just come without registering, then we have a check-in opportunity where we can say, okay, this is somebody who attended the program, and then we have that data on our files here as well. Do the program and then any follow-ups that you'd like to do after that, and that's pretty much it for each one. So you would tell us how many you want to do, what dates, times, locations, etc. Description of the area, for that promotional piece. And I would work with you on that as well. So, and then you kind of go on your own. And report back and let us know how it went and what you thought and if it was fun and kind of how people responded, things like that. I think that would be about it. When we do, at some point, if we do find a coordinator, then I think we will have like a special training session where we'll just invite like all the community leaders to come and go through a training with that person. And it might be, a day with lunch or something like that, or, a 3 or 4 hour block of time, or it could be a full day. I'm not like, we'll have to develop that kind of as we go, but that would be available for you as well. Great. I guess if there's no other questions, if you think of anything, you have my email. Feel free to reach out. And I guess if you wanted to, like take a look at your calendar and maybe for something in the spring to start with, And if you want to set it up like a regular thing, you could do like once a month, or you could do just sporadic, like, okay, I want to do it on this date here at this location, and then I want to do it at this date at this location. Like I'll leave that stuff up to you. Oh, what a cute dog.